My name is Chris Pyke. I'm the Vice President for Research for the U.S. Green Building Council, which means that I have a kind of desirable day job. I basically do applied research and innovation to advance green building practice. So basically we sit at the intersection between people doing real research with lab coats and machines and stuff, and people who are out there trying to improve the built environment. And we help try to get information from one group to the other group. What makes a city intelligent? So for me, I think that it's a compelling question because cities, people are intelligent. What's intelligent about a city? To me, what I find in that question is feedbacks, a relationship between an action, an outcome, and a piece of information that comes back. And that can be as literal as I turn on a light bulb and my monthly bill says I used a few dollars of electricity and I do something about it. Whatever it is, it's an action, an outcome, and a piece of information. I think what we've lacked largely is the piece of information coming back. We've got lots of actions and lots of outcomes, but no information. And I think one of the defining things that's different about this moment in time is that we have the ability to create information and bring it back to ourselves in useful ways, and that the volume of information is accelerating geometrically. And so that, I think, is a defining difference between I don't know if we have such a thing as an unintelligent city, but certainly the idea of an intelligent city moving forward. A lot of different professional disciplines have a notion of evidence-based X. We have evidence-based medicine, evidence-based design, evidence-based practice, evidence-based conservation. Everyone wants to be evidence-based. I think that there's both it reflects a desire to have real provable results, but I think that what has made it possible to have that kind of passionate embrace of evidence-based whatever has been these flows of information. And so what's interesting is that once they start, they tend to scale on their own. In other words, the demand for information and the multitude of uses of that information tends to create its own ecosystem of ideas and tools. Some of them flow into the public sector and tell us about what our community is doing, things like see, click, fix, new ways to accelerate the flow of information through a community, and things we know as individuals. I can go on a city website and learn about my house, my neighborhood, stay in touch. It's that whole mechanism. For me, it's about those connections and the flows of information through them. I think it's pretty exciting because it allows us to do things, to understand things that we never were able to understand before. The downside is obviously that the volume of information going up geometrically kind of just rolls right over us and becomes a mess. And so the challenge becomes, as we go forward, is less about creating the initial flows of information and more about what the heck do you do with it. One of the more kind of intellectual challenges is that we're moving from a paradigm where information was created by centralized institutions, government, a newspaper, an academic setting, and it flowed outwards. It's kind of a one-directional flow of information. You sit in class, you learn it from a professor, your city makes a map of the city and shares it with you. These were governed by the costs and the sort of rarity of the expertise required to basically be a knowledge producer. Now we're moving into a world where everyone's a knowledge producer, and that is that's a good thing on certain levels. My opinion is as good as yours, or vice versa. But on the other hand, is my opinion really as good as yours? We've seen groups like FEMA, like the Federal Emergency Management Administration, learning how to use crowdsourced information to respond to disasters. That's challenging for basically a bureaucracy like that because they're used to being the ones who have the information and they deploy it. Now we're going into a situation where the community provides the information and they respond to it. So who you are, levels of trust, authentication, skill, reliability, the ever persistent worry, am I being gamed, am I being lied to? So I think those are some of the challenges that the advantages of this intelligent network, flows of information between citizens, between institutions, yet at the same time concern about who is contributing and how do I value your content versus my content, and then how do I set priorities in that space? How do I know which issue to tackle first or what signal to listen to? I think we're so young to these technologies that we haven't worked that through yet. We are actually, I think. I don't think any of this yields utopian outcomes. I think what it yields is incrementally better cities, and if we're really lucky, if we're really smart, accelerating the rate of improvement. And so that we have a better understanding of the state of affairs now, and we can use, in my mind, information to accelerate improvements. And that requires articulating a preferred outcome, what is better, and then understanding where we are. And one of our challenges is that we often kind of think that information alone does that. It doesn't. We have to impose our values on the information and express our desired state. And so nothing about information changes the reality that we have to have some process, either individually or collectively, to express that preferred state. And then we can still haggle, like we always have, about what that outcome is. The information is just a tool to better characterize now, and help us literally accelerate that movement from one to the other. I find that really exciting. And then you get back to the entirely human process of debating where we're going, and this doesn't solve that. I like the notion of intelligent cities. It's an aspirational idea. It speaks to a condition that the whole conceptual idea that a city has intelligence. To me, that's an emergent quality of connecting its occupants. So I find the idea really attractive, and I find it to be probably a never-ending effort to pursue it over time. So again, it's kind of interesting. And so I think that there, maybe in a very literal way, there's probably something for everybody to chew on in that idea of an intelligent city. And so it's something that this project has provided food for thought to open up that dialogue a little bit.